Hi everyone, Conservational BI here today. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a series of videos. One that's going to be looking at getting data and cleaning and organizing that in Power BI, and then another video on, fine-tuning that, getting better DAX measures and visualizations, and then getting a full report that can tell us what happened, descriptive analytics, what could happen, predictive analytics, and what should we do about it, prescriptive analytics. I want to intro this by saying I am not at all an expert in the stock market or even in the terminology. I am an engineer by trade, and 5 years ago I asked my brother, hey, what do you do for your investments? He said, I invest in index funds. I said, great, what company do you use? And he said, Vanguard. And that's it. That's all I've been doing. So for the past 5 years, I've been squirreling away money when I can into a Vanguard index fund. That is it. Don't look at me like an expert, and please don't take anything I say to be 100% true. If I'm doing the best I can, and I'm just using my visualization skills. So please leave comments and any of your feedback below. I definitely would appreciate it, and we can, as a community, create the best content possible. And anyway, I hope you enjoy my video. So today we are going to be looking at how to link Power BI to the web data stocks online, particularly Yahoo Finance. So the goal is going to be to where we can link up Power BI to specific stocks on Yahoo, click refresh, and every day it'll reload the most up-to-date data, and it'll give you the past 5 years of the data in intervals of 1 day, and give you it all to where you can then create DAX expressions, measures, etc. inside of Power BI to where we can visualize, and maybe you're interested in finding valuable stocks and understanding whether or not they're outperforming the stock market, or just whether or not you would like to create a few different visualizations to understand how your own individual stocks are performing. So right now we're going to get to an end product in my few videos here to get to where we are able to see the stock symbols, and then we're able to see the most up-to-date values, like this one, for example, where we can see as of May 22nd, the current value is at 26.44, and it's even making a comparison here to the S&P, saying that if this one's related to the S&P, it's actually slightly outperforming that index. And then we can even see throughout the history here how the S&P has been performing and versus how this stock particularly has. And then the coloring of the line is whether or not it's outperforming or underperforming. So we're going to get to an endpoint of this, but today just looking at connecting to the data on Yahoo's website. So I actually already have a template that I've created. If you're interested in this template, I can create one of my future videos on building this and showing you all how I do it. It's got a few key measures already created for me, like percent difference, KPI indicator index, the max-x formula, and rolling average. And anyway, it makes it a little bit easier every time I've got to relink to new data. Also, it's got a date reference table in here where it shows me the date, the month, the week, and the year. And also one other thing that I like to do, I don't like the fact that 01, 02, 03 equal January, February, March. I would rather have it say January, February, and March. So I also have a month and names. There might be a fast way to do this, but it works for me to where I can then just see the number, but also the name, which usually comes into an issue whenever you're trying to see them in a list like this, because they'll be out of order because they'll do alphabetical. So anyway, this is the current template that will be used today, and let's get right into it. So I want to make one thing clear. I'm using the Power BI tips web article. They actually did a full article on how to do this. I'm just creating a video now so where you guys can see it be done. And so I'll add a link to it in the description below. So feel free to click on that and go straight to the source. But otherwise, I'll show you how to do it right here, right now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit transform data. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the view ribbon, the view tab up here, and you want to make sure that you have formula bar checked, because you need to see this formula right here. If I uncheck it, it goes away. We need to make sure that we've got this checked because you're going to need this here in the near future. All right, next thing we're going to do, you can click home, and we're going to click manage parameters and new parameter. And we're going to name this stock symbol, and we're going to call that stock symbol. And we're going to leave this checked as required. We're going to change the type to text. Any is fine, and current value is fine as is. Well, actually, let's currently add the Microsoft stock symbol. So MSFT is Microsoft's identifier. Hit OK. And so we've got stock symbol, MSFT, and there it is, the parameter. So this is exactly what we want it to look like. This is where we want to be. So now we've got a link to the Yahoo data online. So we're going to click New Source, and we're going to click Web. Now, I have done it before where I've just typed in, kind of copy and paste the historical data on Yahoo's, and it just takes forever to load. It is just very time consuming. So what this is actually going to do today is we're going to get the raw data on the website to where it's much faster to pull. If you ever need to hit refresh or you need to add more stocks, this is 10x faster than if you did it the slow way where you just typed in right here you searched for it on Yahoo, found a particular stock and copy and paste that in and let it load up. Click on the table you want. Anyway, it's a very time-consuming process. This one will be much faster. So the first thing we're going to do, we want to make sure we hit select advanced and type this in. Again, this will be, I have the link to the article where you can grab it and just copy and paste these if you'd like. And then we need to hit add part. We want to change this one to the parameter, which it's already going to grab stock symbol for us, which is great. And then we also want to add this. This is going to do a range for 5 years, interval of 1 day. That's particularly what we're looking at today. If you need it to be multiple times throughout the day, you'll have to figure out how to do that. But this right now is just going to be grabbing once a day. And we can hit OK. Let this load up and we'll get going. Excellent. So right now, it does not look like a table. It does not look like what you want. I'm sure you're expecting it to be already the date and the values, but it doesn't. We're looking at the rawest data form, and Power BI is already going to help us get to a point where we want to, but this is exactly what we want it to look like. We're going to change this to stock value just so that it reads a little bit better. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to click on record. Yes, you heard that right. Click on record. And then we're going to click on list, and then we're going to click on record once more. And that's going to get us to this point, meta, timestamp, and indicators. This is exactly where we're going to want to be. So again, if you didn't get to this point, just go rewatch this again, but we'll get there. So then we're going to create a next step. We're going to insert step after. That is where we're going to start this whole process, and we want to rename this as start branch. Perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to then click on the timestamp and list. And that gets us to this, which these are all your dates, actually. Even if it doesn't look like it, we'll get it to a better format. So we've got the toTable function up here. Power BI is already going to help us there. Hit toTable and hit OK. Now we're in a table format, a little bit closer to what we want to be. And we're going to now transform these into actual dates. So we've got to hit add column and custom column. We're going to name this date. And what this equals, it's 25569 plus, in parentheses, column 1, which if I type in COL, it's going to give me that option, divided by 60, 60, 24. And if you guys are curious, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours in a day. And we can hit OK. And it gets us to this format, nearly there. So now we want to change this up here to date. And we can see we've now got dates to the past 5 years, 5/26 2015. You can see we're right now 5/24 of 2020, which is perfect. Okay, so now we want to rename this over here as end branch date. And we'll actually just end. I want to type that as and date branch. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click insert step after. Now, custom one is what it's going to say. We want to actually change up here. We want to change this to start branch. And what this is going to do is it's going to put us right back to that where we saw a little bit before, meta, timestamp, and indicators. And this time we're going to click on indicator record. We're going to click on adjusted close, and then we're going to click on record. And then we want to click on list. So we're nearly there. Let's click the to table again and hit OK. So these are actually the stock prices for every day for the past 5 years for the Microsoft stock. We'll change this to stock. Actually, I want to change it to adjusted close. Change that to adjusted close and get our decimals going. But that's what this is. And now one thing I need to make sure I do is we need to make sure that we, I'm going to make a quick pause here where we need to actually adjust this. We need to go right back up to here, and we need to insert one step. That is my fault. We need to insert one step here. If you were following along the article, you would have already noticed this. We need to add a column and we need to add an index column. Sorry about forgetting to do that a little bit earlier, but anyway, all I did is I clicked up here on added column, and it's gonna, and then I just needed to hit index column and add that. So anyway, that's all you had to do. I did forget to do that one step. Sorry about that. So we're gonna add an index column, and we need to make sure it starts at 0, which automatically will if you just click on index column, and it goes by intervals of 1. So sorry, that needed to be done, but otherwise we can just click right back down here. And we're going to also, this is what made me actually realize that, is we need to create another index column. And those will come into play here briefly. So once we add this index column, we can now change this to end branch. We're going to change it to end. I want to change this to, it's going to say end branch price. And I'm also going to change this instead of end date branch to end branch. Okay. And what we got to do, we got to do one more thing where we're going to now merge these queries together. Right now, you can just see that it's prices, and we also need to now add the dates in. So what we're going to do is we are going to click on the home over here, and we're going to click merge queries. We want to click on index up here on stock value, and then we also want to hit stock value again, current, and hit index. We need to change the join kind to inner and leave the use fuzzy unchecked. Now, it didn't look like it did anything, but we're, again, bear with me, we're nearly there. So we want to, remember how I said the formula bar needed to be unchecked? We need to change this up here to date, hit enter. And last thing we need to do, we want to hit this button up here. It's the actual expand button. And we're going to unselect the index and column 1. We just want to say date. And there we go. We have the date. I want to title this as date. And we can now no longer need that. And so we can see the adjusted close 42.16 as a 526. And you can now see how that is changing throughout the entire history of the Microsoft stock. So one thing I'm going to hit is close and apply. We'll let this load up and we will graph it, and I'll prove to you what we just did. All right, we'll create a line chart here. We will grab the stock value right here that we just added, adjusted close into the values field, and we'll add date into the axis. And I don't want it to be a hierarchy. I want this to be the actual just date. And we'll expand this out. And we can see for the past 5 years, so right before 2016, how Microsoft has stocks has been increasing. You can even see the big drop here when coronavirus started, when all of that shutdown occurred, and we can see the growth back since then. So this is the Microsoft data. Now, I don't know about you, but I am also interested in one more thing where it's great to find one stock and be able to post that into Power BI, but I think the end goal here is to where you're going to have multiple stocks, just like I showed prior. You want that end goal where you have multiple stocks in here, all inside of one single table to where you can compare them off of each other. So that's one big thing that I don't think is currently being done yet that I'm going to show you now how to do. So we just have one, let's get to multiple and then make that a little bit more beneficial. So let's go to transform data again. And this part's actually very fast. So it's once you already did all this pre-work, what we can do is we can literally just copy and paste. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to double click and title this MS. Just because I don't want to have to remember which ones are which. And we can hit copy and then we can hit paste. And there we go. So it's going to create another query, and it's still going to grab all that same data, but this time we can actually just change the name right here and get a different stock. So I'm going to link up to the Vanguard Financials ETF, and I'll click down here. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the values have now changed. So it's already grabbed the Vanguard Financial ETF. That fast. So if we see here, we've got 45.39, and then if we click up on the Microsoft, 42.16. So it has already changed to a new data source, and that's what I mean about this being much faster for adding on new stocks. We'll add one more here, and we'll change this to maybe the Vanguard Information Tech. I'm not sponsored or even at all by Vanguard. I'm just, those are the ones that are on my list that I'm referencing right now. So we can change this to FGT, and now we can see this one also added. So one thing that I want to do that I don't know if it's required, but it's personally what I like to do. I like to merge all these into one single table because I find that much easier to work with, and also it looks cleaner whenever you're in Power BI starting to create measures. So anyway, I want to merge all these into one single table. So in order to do that, I've got to do one additional step on each of these tables. I've got to add a column. Now this is very quick. You hit add column, custom column, and we're going to title this stock symbol. And then we are going to do MSFT. So what this is going to do is it's just going to repeat MSFT for every single line in this table. But that's exactly what I want it to do, because whenever I merge Microsoft's with Vanguard's financial with Vanguard Information Tech, once I merge all three of those, I need to know which lines go to which stock. So that's exactly what I want this to do. And then if you also noticed, I changed the data type to text. So that also is a step that I like to include. So then we're going to go to Vanguard's financial. We're going to then hit, again, custom column. EFH. And we'll go to the Vanguard Information Tech. All right, one last step. So now we've got each row has been identified, 5 years passed for each stock for the last 5 years, the stock price. Let's create one more. So in order to create our table where all these are combined, I'm going to have inner data. There might be another way to do this, but this way works for me. I'm just going to create a table that I'm going to merge all of them into. I'm going to call it appended table. I'm also going to add Z underscore below there, just because I want it to appear at the bottom of my list. Let this load up. go. So it's loaded right here, it says column 1, and all we've got to do is hit append queries, 3 or more tables, and I'll grab the 3 tables I created. And there we go. And so we can delete out column 1, and this is now all of that data, and I can prove it to you right there. We hit load more. There we go. We can see each stock symbol, which is exactly correct, and we can then hit close and apply. So now what this is going to do is it's going to load in all of our tables, and I'm going to make a few admin adjustments with my date reference table. I want to make sure that that is linking, and so I'll show you guys how to do that. And what we'll also do is we're going to create a 52-week high and a 52-week low measure. Again, just in case you're curious, that's a very standard report that is in whenever you're looking up stocks. So I'll also show you how to create that very quickly. So here we go. It's loaded. We have the appended table, adjust the close date and stock symbol. And now I need to create a few relationships because I've got multiple data sets here. So I'm going to create those, and I'm also going to hide a little bit of our data. So I want to hide our stock values. I've already appended them all into one single table. I don't need the additional visual of those data sets because I'm never going to reference them again. So I'll hide each of those. And then what I need to do is I need to create a relationship between my new data source for the date field and to my date reference. So if we click date reference table and date, and my appended table and date. I need to reference my date reference table to my new table just to make sure that we've got every single date accounted for. Let that load up. And I'm also going to do one more thing where I like my date reference table to reference the minimum and maximum of a single table that I know is referencing all of my data. Right now, it's just going to 2020, which obviously is not correct. I'm going back 5 years. So if I do minimum of Z appended date, and I do maximum of Z appended date, this will grab the lowest date and the greatest date in that appended table so that I can make sure that all of my dates are accounted for. And what we can do, I can show you this graph. We can see this was just Microsoft's. So if I uncheck date there and adjust it close, I don't want it to just be Microsoft's, I want it to be all of them. We can grab date from my date field, and grab appended table, adjust it close. And one more step, right, because this is now all 3 of those stocks I've pulled in. So we need to now do stock symbol. And there we go. We can see Microsoft's versus the Vanguard Financial versus the Vanguard Information Tech. You can see each of those throughout the history and those price per stock.